Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin and today is Friday, which means it is Book Review Friday once again. Today we have another summer themed horror book to talk about. We are trying to read summer horror right now because we are in summer and I don't know, everyone else is kind of doing it, so I wanted to be cool like everyone else and read summer themed horror books. What better pick could we have than Paradise Club by Tim Meyer? I have been waiting to read this book for months, and I specifically saved it because I wanted to read it during the summertime. I don't know why, I just really did want to read it during summer. I'm usually not someone that reads specific books during specific seasons. I don't really care about that. If I want to read a Halloween themed horror book in January, I will. But for some reason this one just sounded like I really wanted to read it during the summer. I don't know why. I don't know what was going through my head, but I was like, you're saving it. And then we're in summer and I was like, you know what? Here we go. My chance has come. Time to break this bad boy out and give it a read. Let's start with the cover. I think this cover is absolutely beautiful. I love the colors. I love that the title is in neon pink. I just think that is such a beautiful pop. I love the turquoise, blue, green shades. So pretty. I just really think it's cool. I like the skull right here. Very creepy and shows that there's impending doom, even though everything is very vibrant and beautiful and, you know, nice to look at. There's just this impending doom, you know, goes back to the plot. So I think this is a really nice cover. I think it does a good job of getting the point across of the story without telling you too much of the story. So yeah, I really do like the cover. I think it's beautiful and it's soft matte touch, which matte soft touch. What is that called? You know what I'm talking about. It's really soft and it's matte and I like that. So let's talk about the plot and then I will tell you guys my overall thoughts on this book. Imagine you've won an exclusive luxury vacation. Beautiful beaches, good food, lots of sun and relaxation. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be exactly what you need. Oh, and don't forget those psychotic killers waiting to brutally murder you as well. That's exactly what is awaiting Elliot Harper and his family. Elliot and his wife and 2 kids won a free vacation to Paradise Club, and it seems too good to be true, which it is. Elliot is an FBI agent, and as soon as he steps foot on the resort, alarm bells start going off, especially when the workers make every vacationer give up their cell phones before entering the resort. They make them put them in a Ziploc baggie, label them, and give them up, which kind of suspicious. Red flag after red flag start popping up, and it isn't long before everyone inside the resort is fighting for their lives against these killers who are very excited for the impending bloodbath. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you about the plot. Let's get into my overall thoughts and opinions on this book and just kind of how I feel about it. So it's no secret that I think slashers are one of the best subgenres of horror. I love a good slasher story. I just think that they are not done enough. I think people have kind of fallen off the slasher bandwagon. I feel like they're not as cool to do anymore, and it's really upsetting to me because I love slasher stories. I'm very into them. I think they're fun. I think they're just fun. They're kind of, you know, corny. They're kind of predictable, but I love a good slasher. I don't think slasher stories are done enough. I wish there were more out there. I wish I wish it kind of would be revived a bit. I feel like there's so much to that subgenre, and I feel like people kind of have given up on it a bit, so it's a little upsetting. I wish there were more slasher stories out there. But when I saw that Tim Meyer had done a slasher story, I got pretty excited because I've checked out some of Tim Meyer's work and I really do enjoy what he writes. I'm a pretty big fan so far of what I've read from him, so I was really excited to pick this one up. So this book is broken up into 3 parts, and each chapter is an alternating perspective between the different characters in the story. And I am not the biggest fan of alternating perspectives. I think sometimes it's fine. As a personal preference, I think it can be confusing. I think it can be a little frustrating. I think it can leave the reader confused sometimes. And so I am not the biggest fan of alternating perspectives. I think it can be done very well, and then I think it can be done very poorly. I think what Tim Meyer does really well with the alternating perspectives is that he makes it very clear who's talking and whose perspective it is, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. If I don't know who's talking, it's gonna drive me insane. I have to know, like, right off the bat who it is, or I will be lost the whole chapter. Now, I do think he makes it pretty clear. I think he does a pretty good job of that. However, I just don't love the jumping around so much. I just don't think it's super necessary a lot of the time in stories, and so as a personal preference, I don't personally care for the alternating perspectives. I feel like it's not super obnoxious or distracting in this story, but there were just a few times where I didn't remember who was who, and I wasn't quite sure if I was remembering correctly, so I did have to kind of flip back. So it's just a little picky for me to, you know, talk about this, but it's not my favorite. I think alternating perspectives are just not my kind of thing. I think it can get really irritating really fast, and I don't like the jumping around. I usually just like one perspective, one character's perspective. If we're gonna have alternating, maybe 2, maybe 3 max, but like it's just not my favorite thing, and there were several in this story, and sometimes I just got a little thrown off, but that's just me. I'm sure other people feel differently, and not everyone's going to feel the same way about that as I do. In saying all that, I do think it added to the bigger picture of the story. I did like that you saw how other people were faring during this bloodbath, not just Elliot, or not just Elliot and his family. There were other people's perspectives, which I did like. I thought it was interesting. It did give you a bigger picture. It gave you a fuller picture, you know? So I understand why it was done. It's just not my absolute favorite thing when I'm reading a story sometimes. But I do understand why it was included, and I did enjoy it to an extent. I was extremely happy with how bloody and fast-paced and gory this book got right off the bat. It was very fast, which I am always worried about with a slasher story, because I think if it starts off very slow, it's just not as fun. Slasher stories, I think personally, do better when it gets intense and bloody and messy really quick into the story. It captures my attention better, and I just enjoy it a lot more. So I was very happy to see that this was not a slow start. Things got to the point really fast. Things started happening really fast, and yeah, I was just really happy about that. Now, the blood and the gore were perfect for me. I think the level that it wasn't too over the top, but it was the right amount of over the top. Because this is a slasher story, you do need some blood, you need some gore, you need some, you know, you gotta get a little bit descriptive or it's just gonna be kind of boring. I think a lot of people look for the blood and the gore when they read a slasher story. It's what a lot of people have come to know and love about slashers. So I think for this story, the bloodiness, the goriness, I think the kills were really good, and I liked the level. It wasn't making me want to throw up, but it wasn't boring me. It was the perfect level. It was just right. I really, really, really liked the killers in this story. I liked that they were all different from each other. I liked that they were all unique and they had different ways of killing, and I liked their different weapons. I thought it was really, really fun. It wasn't super repetitive. It wasn't just a group of people running around stabbing. There was, you know, there was more to it. It was more exciting. It was more entertaining to have them all be slightly different from each other, and I really, really enjoyed that. I actually wish that the killers were slightly a bit more prominent in the story. I would have liked more about the killers. They weren't really the focal point in my opinion, and if you've read the story, you kind of know what I'm talking about. There's more to it than just these killers. So I was kind of sad that the killers weren't really the main focal point, just because I really did like them and I thought they were really cool, and I wanted more from them. I wanted to know about every single one, which I feel like we didn't get to see every single one. I would have liked to see all of them, and you know, I just would have liked more about the killers. I would have liked them to be the main focal point. That is just my opinion, but for me personally, I just liked them so much that I just wanted more from them. I just wanted more. Let's chat about the characters. So one of my biggest pet peeves in horror books or thriller books or mysteries or whatever is when a character is a police officer, a detective, an agent, yada yada yada, and they always talk about how they have this really good intuition, they always have these gut feelings, they just know when trouble is approaching, they can feel it, it's in their bones, they're so good at it, but yet they kind of just walk right into trouble. Aren't you supposed to be really smart and intelligent, and so much so that you should be able to sense danger from way far away, that you don't need to go through all of this? And I felt that way about Elliot to an extent. I didn't hate him because he is an FBI agent, but he does that thing in the beginning of the book where he's like, I have this gut feeling, I always trust my gut always knows when trouble's afoot. But it's like his gut was too late because trouble already had started, and I'm like, okay, but you were harping on your gut so much that it really didn't do much for you, dude. So that's just a frustrating thing for me. I mean, it's really nitpicky, like super nitpicky, and it's, again, a personal preference. I'm also not big on main characters who are in the police field, detective field, agent field, FBI field, whatever. I don't really care for characters that are in those professions. They're not really my favorite. I really just like average, run-of-the-mill people. So I didn't really care for Elliot. He was just to me. It wasn't really my favorite character. But he wasn't that bad. I'm not saying he was like super stupid doing things that were just incredibly dumb, but it's just, he wasn't that smart either, so it's annoying to me to hear him talk about how smart and he listens to his gut and he doesn't actually listen to his gut. At least that's my opinion. But yeah, he slightly irritated me. Honestly, the rest of the characters I didn't have any issues with. I actually liked the majority of them. I think there was only one or two that I didn't really care for, but majority of the characters I actually enjoyed, and I felt myself rooting for them and wanting them to stay alive, which is that's what I look for in a slasher. If I'm not gonna root for anyone and I don't care if anyone dies, it's not very fun for me. I want at least one person to root for. I want at least one person that I like, and I hope that they make it out alive. Like, if I don't like anyone, what's the point of finishing the book? If they all die, oh well, who cares? So I was happy that I did like the majority of the characters, so that way I did feel like I could root for them and hope that they escaped. So I was happy about that. Okay, now this is probably my biggest disappointment, my biggest complaint, my biggest issue with this book, and it's the last 25% or so of the book. This book goes from being a typical fun, cool slasher story to something else. It takes a left turn, a very hard left turn. It went into a direction that I didn't care for. I didn't understand why it went in this direction. I thought it was really, I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, kind of dumb. I didn't get the point of it. I didn't like it. It frustrated me a lot. And I felt myself rolling my eyes a lot and just wanting to finish the book at this point because it wasn't what I wanted anymore. So unfortunately, that kind of put a damper on my fun and my love for this book, because if this book had kept going in the direction that it had been going since the beginning, I would have absolutely loved this book. It would have been a 4-5-star read for me. It would have been incredible. It probably would become one of my favorite slasher stories. I would have been over the moon to talk about it. But because of this twist, this ending, it ruined a lot for me, honestly. When the ending is like that, and when it puts such a damper on the book for me, and I have those feelings that I did with this one, it just sours the entire experience for me. And that's probably not the case with everyone else. I know some people who can dislike an ending and be fine with the rest of the book and still really like the book. But for me, if the ending isn't gonna give me the same feelings as the rest of the book, it's not great. It really lowers how I rate the overall book, and that's just because I rely heavily on endings. If an ending sucks, the whole book to me kind of sucks. So in that case, this ending really brought the book down for me, and unfortunately I can't rate it higher than like a 3.5 because of that. Which is really unfortunate, because I really thought this was going to be one of my favorite slashers, but yeah, the last 25% just really threw me for a loop, and not in a good way. I prefer a traditional slasher story, and if that makes it predictable and typical and slightly cheesy, I honestly don't care. I'd rather take that over something like this, which is going to leave me really upset because the ending takes a completely different direction. So I rather read something very campy, traditional, predictable. I rather read that, honestly. But if you like slashers, but you're tired of reading the same kind of slasher over and over again, you're kind of tired of the predictability, then maybe give this a read, because while it has a lot of the slasher elements that we all love, it is different. So maybe if you want something a little bit different, go for this. But if you're a traditional kind of person like me, I don't know if you would necessarily like it. Yeah, so overall, I really did enjoy the book. There was a lot of things I liked about the book, but unfortunately, the ending and the twist was just, it wasn't for me. It made me very upset, and it wasn't my favorite. So for those reasons, this isn't my favorite Tim Meyer book. It's just, this isn't for me. This isn't the kind of book I like. I really wish it had stayed a traditional slasher, because I really enjoyed the direction this book was going, and then it bulldozed me over and left me feeling devastated, actually. A slightly disappointing read this week, which is unfortunate because if you remember, last week's book review was I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I absolutely did not like at all, so it is a little bit disappointing that this one isn't a 5-star home run, but it wasn't awful and I did enjoy it for the most part, so I'll take that over a super disappointing book, I guess. That is my review for Paradise Club by Tim Meyer. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below because I feel like I'm one of the only few that is pretty upset by the ending. Most people seemed okay about it, and I've seen a lot of 4 and 5-star reviews, but for me, because of that ending, I can't justify a 4 or a 5, so yeah, it's gonna probably be a 3.5 for me, which is very upsetting. So not my favorite Tim Meyer book ever. I wouldn't recommend this one over the others that I've read, but not the worst slasher book I've ever read. Okay, my friends, that's going to do it for Book Review Friday. I'm sorry that it wasn't as positive as I would have liked it to be, but alas, that is just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I hope you all are having a really great day. I hope you're having a great Friday, and I hope you have a really great weekend. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read this. Let me know your thoughts. Do we agree? Do we disagree? I'd love to know. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It lets me know what kind of content you enjoy from me. That way I can keep providing you with that kind of content. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We can become friends, talk about books, movies, makeup, horror, all kinds of things. And yeah, that's the end of the video. So I will see you guys hopefully on Monday with a new one. Bye!